All right, welcome and thank you everyone for joining the Internet of Value Foundation New York, episode 88. And for all of those who come and speak today, I hope all who listen find the information as valuable as I know I do every day. The diverse amount of mindsets and perspectives that come in here, I thank everyone who comes. And welcome to the space already, Shellfish. Jason, welcome up. Haven't seen you before, so welcome to the space. Uh, Fridge, Songbird, Quack, feel free, Dazzle, all of you guys, feel free to come up and speak. I have a specific video that I posted up top that I'm gonna speak about a little bit today, and try and kind of keep it on this theoretical pathway of the you could even think of our species possibly a couple hundred years in the future, or other species that could have already divulged this type of techniques and futuristic types of civilizations that could have existed or exist out there. Welcome, Shellfish and Jason. Feel free to speak if either of you guys want. I'm going to give it a couple minutes, get some more people in here, and if anybody wants to speak about anything other than any of the titles above, still feel free to bring it up.
I have not gotten to watch this video yet by Isaac, so I'm gonna sit back and listen to what you have to say on the matter. So, hi everybody.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be specifically on the topics above. If there's something else anybody else wants to speak about beforehand.
I don't know that I've heard Jason speak yet, so I'm kind of excited. We have a new speaker in the room or in this space. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you. Um, uh, Go ahead and request to speak. That way I can ask any questions as I'm new to the space and crypto and all of that stuff. So,
Oh well, welcome. Glad you're here. I'm glad you came up to speak as well. And if nobody has anything off the top of their heads that they'd specifically like to speak about, Dazzling, welcome up, man. I'll start off of basically the end of what our space was yesterday, and I'll lead into other subjects above. But Dazzling, feel free to speak, man. Welcome up.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, because you guys are on the other side of the planet. Forge Worlds. That sounds really cool. I'm like very, very curious. Are we forging some new planets or something, new worlds? So that's a puzzle.
So Forge Worlds, Hive Worlds, this theoretical civilizations of larger magnitudes that what we have now. Think about populations in the quadrillions or quintillions that could manufacture entire industries that would require worlds themselves to be able to host specific industries, and we can even go in more depth of the theoretical possibilities behind all of these different scenarios that could exist in this realm of high magnitude technology developed inside of a large sociological society with the means of awareness to utilize these tools. The aspect of a forge world specifically talks to the notion of a world that could either be owned by many, that was made and utilized for a specific industry, or a specific corporation. You could think of like a corporate world, right? A corp world that this corporation had whatever the means of all of the different industrial large scale industry facilities, manufacturing whatever needed for this galactic scale civilization. Dazzling, go ahead, jump in, man.
So basically, if we were able to, capture the solar system, you're saying that we could have Mars as a place where, if it were more abundant in, say rock, solids, those types of things, we would have that planet based for those resources. And then, say, Jupiter or Saturn, we would use for, basically mining those resources that are most abundant with those planets. Is that kind of where we're getting at, I guess?
The using the planets themselves as structures for industries, and yes, taking the planet itself and utilizing the materials of the planet. This could be a different industrial use case. So, right, this is less of a sustainable civilization where you could have an industry, say multiple industries that are owned by multiple federations, or in the sense like we could use countries, right, that then partake in this terrain on a planet for all of their own different use cases, right? Some have industrial use cases. Some maybe are that's the part, you can almost think of like forest, right? Parts of civilization that they've been carved out and stamped some sort of seal of galactic approval to not be tampered with or destroyed. And then you have, you could almost think of them like Dyson swarm species, right? Or swarm species, where they would consume the very terrain and planet that they exist on. This makes a lot more sense to do in large icy bodies. You could think of like our the Oort cloud that surrounds our solar system, and the very solar system itself that's surrounded by the asteroid belt. The These make way more sense to like use as materials and destroy, and whatever it would take that you could build a civilization around, rather than, and this is pre being able to kind of control the input and output of stars. But it's easier to find possibly a planet that is surrounding a star, and not want to destroy that if it's in an habitable zone, because that's something, that's a large use case in my opinion by itself. And then you have these Dyson swarms that could be around stars themselves. I mean, entire civilizations that could use the energy output plasma from a star, and then take that plasma and, take our star for instance, right? Large gas, hydrogen gas bomb, and take that hydrogen and then separate the atoms from the hydrogen and use these different electromagnetic frequencies to create the chemicals and the materials that you may need, and utilizing the large the objects around in that vicinity, be able to sustain an entire civilization of you know tens of billions around one star.
Nice, dude. That sounds amazing. I really hope that I can experience this kind of endeavor one day. Stay alive long enough to witness it. I'm still listening. I'll stay to speak up, but I need to be quiet for about 15 minutes if that's okay.
Yeah, it's fun. And so the notion of would we exist in this type of civilization, would we get the chance to, the best example I have to the most common, I think, example of a type of civilization that exists is Warhammer 40K. I don't know if anybody has ever heard that reference. Uh, it's probably like 40 years old or so, right? Of a it used to be a game that you could play, and it still is a game that you could play. I would just say it was first, it was physical, and then it was digital, and this digital game also, it's pretty fun, and literature also. Uh, but but these types of civilizations, I think we personally, Dazzling, and if you're listening, we're going towards more of the hive world combination, where we if we survive for maybe another 1,000 years, could create forge worlds and create a Dyson swarm, maybe possibly around our star, and get enough materials to make another star inside of our solar system, for a source of energy. I mean, the thoughts of what we could utilize in our solar system without even having to leave it and create. But I think we as a species on the Earth are going more towards this hive world where we have things like distributed ledger technology, quantum processing, and quantum computing, and the means of distributing these signals throughout the atmosphere of our Earth, and with that, inside of the magnetic field that we exist in a terrain, our terrestrial plane, be able to uh, uh, really this aspect of hive world, right? Like you think about like a hive. What is a hive? This connected unit of structure. And so this ability that we were all really, and we already are able to communicate with each other instantaneously from one place of the world to the next. But it's this next step where we won't even need these physical silicone, aluminum, metal devices. We ourselves will be part of this hive, this structure, and the ability to distribute information and have communication through automation and all of the different means, signal wise. That's definitely, I think, we're already close to that. You think of things like the BCI, which is your brain control interface, and Neuralink, and Brain Chip, and Brain Link, and there's a lot of lower level technologies that are already kind of grasping somewhat of this ability to communicate in a higher awareness level with just the brain's neurons firing off, and that transmitting an actionable state somewhere else externally. Feel free though to anybody to jump in or cut me off on any of it. Any questions or thoughts on anything?
I mean, I will always talk. I so the thought of having Mars more of an industrial planet with less human activity, for some reason didn't even occur to me. I thought the colonization of Mars was just always like the goal to get humans there, but now hearing the idea of just creating one factory that would produce multiple factories um, sounds more along the line of an industrial forge world to me. Do you think the goal is still to colonize with humans? Or do you think it's more like robot, like halfway to the asteroid belt, or beyond, like a gas station, basically?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Do you think Mars is going to be more like a forged world, where it's more industrial, or do you think it's more going to be lined up with human civilization and terraforming? Is it more like a gas station, more robotic mindset, or do you think it still has the capability, or um, I don't know. I just always assumed Mars was for humans, and now that we're getting so close to AI and robotics, um, it seems more pliable, more realistic that it would be more robotic
No,
as a hand of play.
I
Go
think
ahead.
I agree with your first part. Mars more for humans, and why is that? Because Mars is in the habitable zone of the of the sun, and so just like how I referenced before, like finding rocky terrains that could even have H2O imported to it uh, uh, in the habitable zone of a star. Very very nice finds. I would suggest comparably to looking at our galaxy and the rest of the galaxies that we think and what we see existing out there. It's not that it's uncommon, right? I mean, it's just not the most common. It's more common to find giant rocky planets or large gaseous planets and things that may be able to host life as we don't expect life to exist in the formation of identity as we see it. But uh, the thought that we would be able to survive on it, or like ease of maybe utilizing it, less of a chance for sure.
Shellfish was alluding to the asteroid mining, and in my mind, I was just thinking about Mars.
I think things like Psyche 16 are much better bets than for asteroid mining than something like a Mars, right? Because going back to Mars is great if we drop a couple nukes on it, maybe, and create some sort of atmosphere, and through that creation of atmosphere, a magnetic field gets formed around it. That's what would create the atmosphere. I'm sorry, create the ability to have an atmosphere, and then it could be habitable. I mean, and right, and then we take an asteroid, say a large asteroid that's filled with a lot of hydrogen and oxygen, H2O, right? The ingredients for H2O, and we bring it to Mars, and then boom, we can make an Earth on Mars. But the the thing is this is why it makes more sense to like utilize Mars rather than in this sense of a Forge world completely just utilize it as a survival metric for maybe another planet. But then doesn't mean that it's not able to be done like that or utilized in that formation. It just makes more sense to me, especially from a survival metric for our species, to have a couple safe place bets, stations and throughout while we're on the early days of our space exploration um, uh, journeys. Shellfish, go ahead.
So, just brainstorming here, because I was watching one of the videos on colonizing Mars with thoughts of like what Elon had thrown out there, and the way that it looked, the projected cities, it looked like giant chips or like motherboards, and just curious, like we keep talking about like making them smaller and smaller. So what would happen if we didn't make them actually into large chips, like the actual cities, like manufactured the cities as motherboards or laid them out like giant processors? Because isn't that what they thought? Maybe the pyramids, they like all these different ancient structures kind of resemble um, motherboards. Like even the inside of cathedrals have certain shapes that look like conductors of energy, etc. Am I like totally like talking out my ass like everybody's quiet? Has nobody thought about making chips like really like the size of cities before?
um I'm not sure how to well, I guess I'll go where my brain went. So, when I think of a large quantum processing computational machine that could be utilized by more advanced species, I think of a computational unit that could sit in the middle of a city that has a gigantic beam of what would look like photons or light that is coming out of it, but is truly a quantum processing unit that is shooting those photons into the atmosphere that is then being distributed through the what we know to be the exact means of quantum computation processing that needs to occur from the electrons to shoot up into the air, into the atmosphere, and through these forms of state changes entangle to other state changes, and that could, have some sort of interaction on, say, your phone, right? This, and so you have, or this interaction between Mars and a base near Jupiter, right, or something like that, or I like to think of it's really more so Jupiter's moons, right? Titan and oh man, it starts with a G right off the tip of my tongue. I'm gonna blank right now though, so I'm not even gonna say it. But yeah, I mean, there's countless moons and moons that we think to have life on it, although very minute. Um, possibly amino acids and very small bacteria surviving, but life nonetheless. So that would be really cool to see and to build bases on. I think that went away from your question though. Yeah, back to the quantum processing thing. So I think of, I don't know if I would think of like the city as a big processor unit. It's like it's more semantics
Well,
what you said. It's more like hey, I'm up on this this point of view here, and it looks like a big circuit board maybe, but um it.
well, Death Ranger, they make like they're trying to make fusion engines for rockets, right? And then you have the ITER, and I was looking at the ITER today in that one video from the Royal Institute, and I don't know why, but I just the size of it, it just didn't dawn on me until they showed the design of it today in that video. It was massive, and they said like there was 18 copper coils, and each one of them was like the weight of oh my gosh, like a jetliner or airplane or something along that line. And they showed like the little human next to the tokamak, and it made me start kind of wondering. I'm like, well, if we can make computer chips smaller and smaller at the nanobot level, then why not larger um, computer motherboards, etc. The same, like, right? We're making the energy bigger. Why not I mean, the computer bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger?
Did you answer your own question?
Shh. Okay, you know how I work things out loud. I'm sorry, classroom. This is how I think and speak at the same time.
You're fine. Selfish. Thank you, Vet.
By the way, is McQuack in here?
McQuack is in here. McQuack, are you everywhere else?
Yeah, that's the point. Like he's in 5 spaces.
And so I'm glad you're in here though, McQuack. Actually, we'll get to this little subject matter here in a moment. If you just created different accounts, right? Nobody would be able to bother you that you're in multiple spaces at once. It's that easy, my man.
Who says I'm not in multiple accounts?
Well, all right, that's cool then. At least, well, I mean, it's kind of silly though that you're showing yourself in the same space though, in multiple spaces. You keep.
Well, because this account is, I had a little poll, and this one specifically, this account will be full on XRP and like cryptocurrency. So the spaces that I do hop in with this account are mostly centered around that, and I gotta try to absorb as much knowledge as I can.
It's people talking about him.
I mean, absorbing knowledge from 5 spaces simultaneously. I'm just surprised you even know where the sound comes from. Like from which space? Kudos to you.
Right now, it's just 2 streams, so
manageable.
Going back to the hive world. McQuack is getting prepared for the hive world. The explanation of the explosion of these electromagnetic frequencies being described to his neurons in his brain as intent and structures that are outside of his existence of body. And so being able to diagnose all of these different states that are occurring and being more aware. McQuack is
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that intelligent. I think I just have ADD and I just need more stimuli.
Well, I guess it's going to work in your favor, possibly. Dazzling, though, you got your hand out. Go ahead,
man. Apparently, the brain can only, I guess, compute one stream of information at a time. So if you're listening to one audio source, apparently you can't. I guess you could subconsciously absorb it, but you can't consciously absorb 2 things at once. Am I right there?
It's called reading the captions after.
Yeah, less than known 3% of people are able to multitask. At least be able to do 2 things at almost 100% efficiency.
Yeah, McQuack's the proof.
Oh, but if there is a recording device inside your brain, you could actually require or request the information to be drawn like at a later date.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, at that point you're thinking about the synaptics, and so you can imprint these neurons into the brain, and possibly at a higher rate than we're able to fire off and realize what's occurring. This could be thought of as almost like putting memories in your mind, but really this entanglement of being able to have the notion of the electrical current in your brain atomicize. I'm gonna atomically be able to be aware of the different states of this information, say flying a helicopter. That's, are right, mathematicians at heart, to be a cryptographer, and they speak languages that I still don't understand, even though I hear it, I hear the injunctions, right, the intent behind the injunctions, and don't even know the words, but just don't make any sense sometimes. But um, that is the love of math. I mean, it's this never-ending, infinite amount of realm. And today, we have things like quantum field theory and Dirac's equations, and we're trying to pinpoint the notion of these different subatomic electromagnetic frequencies, these structures that exist that make up this material world. And this definitely is this inflection point, right, to lead us to these theoretical hive worlds and forge worlds that we could not only take part of, but maybe be there to be and to see actually exist if our species does the right steps technology wise in the next 20 years. Dazzling though. Go ahead, man.
I'm surprised McQuacky didn't claim that 3% there, but so this is kind of like a long shot, but so bear with me for a sec. But with the I think it's the digital ID amendment to the ledger. I was kind of coming up with the idea that they would want to do something like a global ID to then basically have citizens of this globe. Okay, so you'd still have your local regions, your countries, and things where things would be governed by politicians and whoever else. Kind of the same way it works now, but a global ID system on a ledger. Would then kind of allow everybody to kind of move around this globe maybe a little bit more freely. But it just kind of seemed like something that you would put in place if you were to have, say, civilizations on other, say, celestial objects, right? Like the moon or Mars, right? And it's kind of funny, like even when Elon, made it so when you send a post, it'll say from Earth. Okay, I can guarantee you now, as soon as they land on that surface, right? If someone gets out and stands on that surface, one of the first things they're going to be doing is sending a post on this platform just so they can get the clout for it. But it just kind of makes me wonder if that is something that if that was like a long-term vision for the kind of the digital ID system.
That's right. That's why I put it in the title, DID and DLT. Through the means of a quantum processing unit, I could see the ease of a DID, digital identity, being able to be transferred, say, from Mars to the Moon to the Earth to Titan to Europa. Oh, I did remember its name. How that's weird how that just rolled off my. Anyway, but yeah, I could see this and being able to be transmitted what we would think of theoretically almost instantaneously, at least as proof of barcode scanning. That's something interesting, right? Almost think this. All right, so we have all of these different technologies and these means of thinking the capabilities of what they could be utilized in the future, digital identity, right? And then it's like, you know, what are we going to use to scan the DID? Is it going to be a barcode at that time? Are you going to be the DID? Well, you just need say a scan, and so from this point of view, if you're pulling up to a space station, they just scan the whole ship and they know exactly who you are, right? Because your identity is theoretically this DNA structure of identity. Um, Interesting notions. Who gets to hold that medical information? I think, and that also that information I'd like to know.
What if your civilization is so large that you use a pulsar star to maintain tabs on everything?
Oh, so this is also this very interesting thought of when you think of this probably be like somewhat what we would call like a level 4, level 5, level 4 species. Uh, we could also think that there's no way for us to know that pulsars are not means of communication from a very high technologically advanced species today. I mean, we see them as stars that have erupted and through this eruption create this um, spinning trajectory of energy that's flowing out of it, ionized gas. The thought though is, what if it is just like a crazily highly advanced quantum processing unit or something like that? I don't know. Thumper though, man, welcome. Glad you have your hand up. Please feel free to speak.
Okay. You just might not want to call it DID because that's a dissociative identity disorder, which is multiple personalities.
That's interesting. Oh man,
Just
this is something our species does all the time. We have a lot of acronyms that actually are conflictual to each other, and it's interesting to hear the polarity sometimes too. Because also like crypto, right? Like crypto is actually a disease, and you do not want to get crypto. But we also all like crypto. That was a funny one though. Thank you there, Thumper.
no problem.
Well, this was a fun space so far, and I think I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it a little shorter today. I know start at 3:30. I'm gonna keep it till 4:30 probably, unless there's other topics that get brought up and people would like to speak about different things. Because I don't know if I want to speak about Forge Worlds at least for the entire time. Bedazzling, you got your hand up, and then McQuack. Go ahead, guys.
I just wanted to ask Vet if he will flip a vote to yay for humanity to move forward throughout the solar system.
You asked me if I would shoot myself into the orbit or space for humanity.
Will you vote with your validator for us to move forward?
Oh,
or will you stifle
hard no.
our ability to move forward into the future?
I think.
Wait a second. Can we visit the whole launching Zed into space thing? That was kind of fascinating.
I would vote a hard no, because OGs in IOVFoundation space here. When we talk about quantum and AI, all of this, like the OGs will know that I always brought up like back to the 1950s. It's just like a meme. So yeah, I'm gonna vote no, and we're gonna vote yes for going back to the 1950s.
That if I got an extra ticket, would you ride with me? Will you go hang out in a space hotel with me?
Space, what is it called? Space tourism. I think that's gonna be huge actually in the future.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
I hope it's gonna be as affordable as maybe normal tickets right now. That would be actually really huge. Imagine going
No.
up.
100,
No?
125K starting for the tickets in 2025. But by 2030s, this might be a change. It was the same thing in cruise ships. Cruise ships when cruises first came out,
Yeah.
they were very expensive. Nobody could afford it except for the rich.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe not in 2025, but it's maybe in 2040, 2050 if we live. But then
Look that Fridge has his hand up. He's volunteering. He's gonna go with me to space.
It's the Fridge always.
Well, bet you're on the UNL. You get to go up for free. It's a little different.
Yeah. Right. I vote just yes. There's like.
Nice, good man.
That was great. I think Thumper, though, you had your hand up, and then Fridge, welcome up, man.
No. I did it on accident.
Well, I'm glad you're up here, Fridge. Please jump in, man.
Oh, you were talking about pulsars, and I know most of my references end up being from like video games I play, but in Elite Dangerous, the pulsar stars were the most dangerous to approach because of their gravitational field. And in the game itself, you travel from star to star through whatever theoretical travel they have set up in the game. But so that was just there's only specific stars in game where you can scoop fuel, and pulsars are the ones that you cannot. Actually, in the game, they're just lame stars. They don't even give off energy in the game apparently. But I found that interesting. And earlier in the conversation, you guys were talking about the industrialization of planets, and right now I'm playing Starfield, so in this plot line and in these storylines, a lot of the rocky planets that can be inhabitable, there's just mining outposts and research buildings. There's no actual civilization sitting there, building a world. Almost every area that you go to is uh, for the industrial and the spread of the technology, I suppose, as opposed to colonializing.
No, and it's an interesting aspect because uh, I love that you came up and you spoke about it. It's almost like you're kind of looking at what we would call the notions of like if our species was to start to become a spacefaring civilization, and not yet like a galactic civilization, but really in this kind of pre stages where we're going out and we're exploring things, we're mining, we're trying to like kind of bring it back to home bases because that's what we have so far. And the hive world or like the forge world, it's more like that Warhammer 40K kind of where it's the species is in the quintillions, and there's just massive amounts of automation, and even like the thought of just headphones, right? Simple headphones. You need an entire planet sized industry just to produce the amount of headphones that are needed throughout this like galactic federation of units that exist, and it's like this massive just like level 3 species possibly we could maybe consider it, but it's really cool because you can almost have like this theoretical example virtually of this not yet level 1 species, and then we've talked a lot about where kind of like to jump to this like level 2 level 3 species. Shellfish, please jump in, go ahead.
Fridge is like the perfect example of how play to learn, play to earn type of stuff is gonna like play in. I think we've all been subjected to the whole gaming industry our whole lives, and it's just a matter of getting paid for it now.
Well, if I could get paid for playing Elite Dangerous, I would be a trillionaire. That would be awesome. I have trillions upon trillions of credits from playing that game. So
But look at
that
like
would be
Fridge,
wonderful.
you just like spit out all this awesome info on the pulsar. Like, would you have actually actively gone out to the library or gone on Google searches and researched that on your own, or you were like, crap, I got to figure out how to get my spaceship around this thing, and this is like the gravitational pull from this, and like you actually had like a little bit of a lesson in that game. So this is like cool. This is like where everything's going. It's
It's a
pretty
great
awesome.
example of
Well,
socioengineering in some structural way, and I love that we have Fridge. Fridge has the opportunity to really utilize it. Sorry, though. Go ahead. I saw you on mute, Fridge.
what the hell was I going to say? No, I don't.
My bad.
Fridge, where's your skin?
Where's my skin? Oh, well, this is. I can't even say his name. Are you talking about my PFP?
Yes, I am.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think he's from Spain. He has a validator, and these NFTs, I guess, however many are sold, he deposits it to other validators.
I'd say he's standing too close to either you or death, and you've melted his face off.
Well, Fridge did draw the profile picture I utilized, so yes, this makes sense.
I think this is this particular series is off of BitHop as well.
Watch out, vet. I like cooked mushrooms.
Oh, what's up?
Oh my God.
Mushrooms? Why?
There's like
Why
a
you
couple
cook?
of notional like threats at you here in this space already. That it's like launch you into outer space, cook your little mushroom.
Cooking.
It's going
God damn
on.
it. Everybody
Oh.
wants the stem.
Back to the neutron star. This is also an interesting thought and theory, Shellfish, that sorry, pulsar, not neutron star, pulsar, that we could have these actual pulsar rayed electromagnetic fields that have been shot off of a pulsar that whip past our Earth, or point at our Earth, and are somewhat deflected by the magnetic field of what our Earth produces. So it's an interesting thought that these things could also affect us in some range. And this is, this thought maybe it's like a form of communication, and we're just not able to be able to pick up on it, at least publicly. But anybody in the space that hasn't come up to speak, guys, we've talked on Forge Worlds, digital identity being able to be transferred through quantum processor systems that you could think of as giant computer systems, the size of a building that is shooting up a ray of light as it looks like to be into the sky. Yet it's photons that are interacting on this quantum state level that interact with other state possible like photonic state chips that could exist in physical tools like phones and computational devices as we have them today. And touched on the thought of hive worlds and these brain control interfaces being this this kind of pre-step to this notion of a hive world as we might have it, or a hive species as we may be, in the elongated future. And I think on some sense I would already say we are somewhat of a hive world. Well, on a very notional level, society is the means of what we all constituted to be in a fashion of agreement. And so, this being some sort of hive mentality that somewhat exists, and we see it very often take place in all of the different structures and sociological, geographical changes that we as a society partake in. Yeah, this is a interesting notion of that kind of that going to a next step of this hive world means.
You know what'll be interesting, Death, on the hive world thing is like, what's going to motivate our species to want to move in that direction when it seems like if there is an AI pushing us towards anything, it's individuality. Maybe it actually has shifted from the virtues of individuality, but like personally, like I'd want to know that I could experience something beyond what I'm capable of experiencing as an individual to want to lose that autonomy. You know what I mean?
It's a very interesting question, and it's almost like today, going back to what I said before, like the game, right, that Fridge was playing, which really allowed him to understand this different awareness of this possible structures that exist that he may have not otherwise went out to look for and to learn himself. And then we can term it, right, socioengineering or sociological engineering, right, behavioral engineering, this kind of notion that we have had going back to Aristotle and Socrates and Plato and Pythagoras himself, right? This ability to program said oneself in this computational means of thought, and this produce this actionable state afterwards. The thought of connecting all of us, all of this computation, all of this means of intent being able to be distributed through an awareness of each one of us as different identities. It's it's interesting to think about the individuality, or that individualism that we each identify with, and would that be tampered with? And it's almost like back to my thought where I think like we already kind of, we all are individuals, yet there is this very much so collective mentality that picks up in all these different little group settings that we have in society. And so would it eviscerate that in the sense of, was that the correct term? No,
Eviscerate?
eviscerate. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. With that,
Well, and it's
yeah, like
we have
sorry, go ahead.
we have that team winning mentality programmed within us from, sports, team sports, even like team projects in school. Like you win something as a group, and it is a different dopamine hit. So I mean, it's like there's no denying that group winning has a different type or flavor of fulfillment from individual success. In fact, some would argue like the greatest accomplishments are within a group. So if we could replicate that dopamine flavor, then that would be one way to, that we do things seeking pleasure, avoiding pain. Sadly, I think they'll use the stick somehow if that's kind of the trajectory that they're committed to moving us along.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting, right? Because it's double-edged sword, right? It could be utilized in the sense of positive reinforcement towards one's actions and empathy and love. And right, me personally, I think that goes that direction, KJ, just because of the other structures that'll exist in society, computational means of automation and robotics themselves, and not the need for right and work as we know it really to exist today. So I do hope that, but yeah, very much so could be used as the opposite as a whip and a shackle. So um, I think this also plays into distribution and decentralization, and then so the title at the top, DLT, right, playing such a huge role in technology and just the manufactured sense of the intent behind a distributed ledger, whether it be in a digital means or a paper means, but it being sufficiently distributed and this information throughout all the sources and being agreed upon and trusted.
That concept in Star Trek, the Borg, is like one of the most fascinating and scary phenomenon. Like if you think about a company or any group of people that just wants to excel as a group, imagine if you could partition your private thoughts but share your life work of experience. Like imagine I'm on Vet's tech team and I understand the engineering capabilities, but I'm a sales biz dev guy and I'm trying to pair business needs with what I know Vet and his team can make. But imagine if everyone on Vet's team knew the challenges I was having on the front lines of trying to get a prospect, an enterprise company interested in our tech, and like just how quickly you could move a group forward if you could share in that quick hive mind way. Um, there's no disputing the performance would be astronomically off the charts if you could merge multiple minds in an effective way.
Well, that's a great example.
And that's gone. So, but you guys know who he is.
And even taking that to like a larger level, think of like a species that's surrounding a sun in the possible billions, tens of billions, quadrillion maybe, like a giant sphere, to communicate from one side to the next of the sun, to have this means of distribution of synchronization where all of the units of thought of the structural agents, whether it be our species or some sort of advanced looking species, be kind of like on this kind of communication hive. Like we all know what we're doing. We're all agreeing upon this and these structures. You're building over there. I'm building over here. We're all working together. Yeah, it's like taking that to that next level two species kind of concept. And and going to that, right, this other notion I'll touch on, how we talked about how it could be this double-edged sword in the thought of a forge world. You could have such a large species, right? Back to like the quintillion numbers, that everyone's looked at as more of a cog in the wheel, and everyone agrees and has that notion that we're all part of this cause, and no one of us are more significant than the other. It's almost this kind of like lifeless state where, you would think like almost, I don't know if you guys know StarCraft, like a Zerg, but which willing to sacrifice itself because it doesn't have the notion of identity or care towards itself. And Thumper, please jump in. Go ahead, man.
You keep saying the levels of humans. I just want to know what those are. Like, I haven't been in here, so
No,
just was
you're
wondering.
fine, man. And so it's not mine necessarily levels. This is the Kardashev scale, and there's a few others out there that have these different theoretical levels to measure the species, a species, and it goes to the energy usage or the capabilities to consume and produce and utilize the energy said one species is able to. And so,
You elaborate like what the different levels are.
yeah, so we're theoretically at something like in my opinion, like a point 0.6, right? We're able to almost utilize all of the energy of our planet. When we'd be a level one species, we'd be able to utilize the energy that is coming from our sun and our planet, right? And so be able to build something very similar to the beginnings of like a Dyson sphere or a uh, even a Dyson's ring around our Earth, and maybe use the magnetic field around our Earth to produce energy. The level 2 species refers to, and right, like it depends on whose scale you're talking to, because there's a couple different ones out there, but like level 2 typically talks to being able to control all of the energy in said one solar system. So one species being able to consume what we would think of to be all of the possible energy, the atomic states in said one solar system, and utilize that for some sort of reason for the species. This level notion of a level 3 species is a species that would be able to use all of the energy in one's galaxy, right? And so from the level 2 to the level 3 theoretically goes up magnitudes larger. Although, you know, if you had like a self-replicating nanobot in the millions, it could probably conquer a species in like a billion years or something like that. So, you know, yeah, a galaxy in a billion years. Sorry, something like that. So that's like interesting to think about. But and then the notion of a level 5 and beyond is this thought of being able to control possibly all of the energy in said one's universe.
Okay, thank you.
So we're still at the baby stage of at least the theoretical of those scales of possibilities. But who knows? You know, there's like this interesting thought that if we're able to rearrange atoms in any kind of state and matter that we want to, and use fusion to produce whatever energy power source that we need to, we just need more atomic states. You know, I don't know. It's very interesting to think about what kind of energy outputs we may be able to sustain in, you know, the next 150 to 200 years. So scales, theoreticals. I mean, it's all based on one's intent to kind of describe something else that's existing beyond the means of the realms of our reality today. But nonetheless, I still enjoy it all, and I thank you for asking, Thumper. Dazzling, go ahead, jump in, man.
Yeah, so I remember looking up the Kardashev scale quite a long time ago, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a Russian guy that came up with the idea. But Kardashev is, I believe, in an English term, is very closely related to the word Kardashian, right? Which I always thought was quite ironic, because you have them kind of, you know, harvesting the energy of everybody globally, right? Uh, which is quite funny and ironic. But
Oh, I
so
love it.
it's great, isn't it? And so my question was going to be, so every time you see, you know, kind of a visual representation of a Dyson sphere, it's basically, you know, you have sometimes cracks in it, you know, maybe like it's kind of, you know, weaves around, you know, the sun or whatever. Sometimes I've seen, you know, complete solid structures, or visual representations of it. Now, if you did that to our sun, well, one, the sun's going to expand anyway, as we were talking about yesterday, but two, you just eliminate all the sunlight coming towards this planet. So, you know, if you were to harvest the energy of a sun, what kind of devastating impacts would that have on its solar system? That like you'd have to really consider that.
Well, and see, you know, and this is an excellent theoretical point of view from the actual building of a Dyson sphere. And so you're right. Are you surrounding a sun that has no habitable planets around it? In that case, it really doesn't matter. From a structural point of view, you want to consume as much energy as possible. However, sometimes breaking up a structure can help dissipate heat, and so also help with the thermal control. Obviously, surrounding a star, you can imagine the amount of energy output. This could be something of a thought. Also, the breakups in said Dyson sphere could also this diminish the detriment or the damage that could be caused to a planet and the solar radiation that it's receiving from a sun, and still be able to consume a large magnitude of energy. This is also why I kind of brought up earlier, where I was like, you know what? I don't know if we ever really go towards building a Dyson sphere around our sun. And to that point, also, when you think about the sun expanding over years, you could build a magnetic field around it to crush the sun, right? Almost how we have fusion today, where we create these plasma fields and we use magnetic fields to smush it as much as we possibly can, and then from the fission of that compression, the outwards, we try and take energy outputs from that. So you could think of that, and that could also theoretically maybe make the sun uh, um, live for a significant more period of time, or actually, you know what, live for a longer period of time rather than shorten its life. A couple different thoughts on that, but I think a Dyson's ring around our Earth would be something that I would love to see, almost like how we have the ring around Saturn, right? This ring that we could build that could host possibly billions around our Earth, and at the same time, not really destroy the solar radiation coming from the sun.
Yeah, that's amazing. God, it's such a cool concept to think of. Even just trying to find a star. I mean, we couldn't do it to our own. That would obviously have devastating impact. Even if it was, even if it did have gaps in it, we would still lower the amount of sunlight that we receive on this planet. So yeah, it could be quite dangerous for us to do so, harvesting our own sun. But yeah, even trying to get up to another star would require a huge amount of energy to try and do so. So I don't know how we're going to get out there and do that anytime soon.
Well, I mean, we could get to Proxima Centauri in about 24 years today with modern technology, and this is using lasers and solar rays, so solar panels that could be shot with the solar laser, with the laser, and utilize solar winds to kind of make its trajectory over there.
Sorry, and I didn't mean to butt in because I saw Shelly had your hand up.
Oh, so I didn't even see that. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
I was just gonna ask because it's starting to come out more and more this week about that 33 Polyhemnic asteroid, that it might have elements that we have not come across yet. So I was just curious, like when you have elements that we haven't experienced yet, like they're so eager to get them. So do they have an estimate on what the elements might be used for? Like, or is it just kind of like, well, we know these things may be a higher numbered element, so that would be a gas, or like it's just kind of a race to see what they are?
I mean, new elements is the things that I enjoy hearing. This new materials, right? Because when I hear new element, I hear new material, a new different atomic ratio of electromagnetic frequencies in the form of atoms, right? Protons, electrons, and neutrons interacting with each other, creating some sort of different molecular chain of possibilities. That is the stuff that I think quantum computers themselves are going to be able to really crack a large code on for us from what we have. But it's almost this interesting thought, like, could a quantum computer figure out and build that material without us discovering it, or do we need to go discover it, and then the quantum computational system will be able to utilize that to build different things that it never thought it could? It's also that kind of thought that going to a little bit of where some people get like the fear factor of like a cybernetic being existing. It's like the last thing it would probably think is like, let me kill humans because they're in my way. It's like, what the heck is this whole entire universe? Right. I can compute all of this computation, and I don't understand
Well,
anything.
either way, we don't know what it looks like, right?
Mhm.
What looks like.
What that next edge of the paradigm looks like, another horizon. We're going over the edge. We don't know what it looks like.
I think he means, in other words, we don't know what's out there and what can be. I mean, new elements, it sounds really cool, but they could also be elements that can kill us. They can also be elements that we can use.
Well,
And,
period. New elements, new
Mhm.
new whatever. It's new. You
Yeah.
don't know what it looks like. You haven't experienced it. If we're
Nope.
discovering it, we can discuss it, of course. But the thing is, we don't know what it's going to look like. Period.
Yeah, could be horrible.
It is human nature to fear the worst too, right? Stop.
Well, I would say it's human. It's human nature to. I wouldn't say fear, but to feel discomfort in change, because any change is unknown, and an unknown is somewhat discomforting because you don't know what's going on. Alien life, though, man. Welcome back to the space. Got your hand up. Please feel free to jump in.
Okay, thank you. Alien light, we are unconditional love, which is the signal we believe that is not. We don't believe we know that is a signal transmitted. Has anyone seen any of the videos or images that Alien Light is posting?
No, but I mean, yes. But if you want to post them, man, please feel free to hit the bubble or post it up top, and try and guide people to your page. And maybe when you're hosting a space and something, some sort of information. But keep it somewhere so everyone can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm posting live videos every couple of hours. I'm posting images every few hours, if not even by the hour. Every color of image and every image that I'm posting, I say not from Earth. This signal, this image, this color that we're showing, or the DNA or dark matter, are signals not from Earth that all life on Earth is receiving, transmitting from right now, conscious. It is an extremely conscious signal right now, but mainly right now, I'm obsessed with the color imaging that I'm capturing. And anyone, you can see these are multi-dimensional color, the full ultraviolet spectrum. It is the invisible gamma spectrum light particle in multi dimensions that we are immersed in right now. We're immersed in particles of light, but it is absolutely mind blowing. I'm showing it on video. You can see
What
it.
do you want to see, Alien?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry to cut you off. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm trying to feed into what you're saying. What do you want to see? What are you hoping for? What is in your vision of?
Right. What we're showing is conscious evidence that we're not alone. You are receiving and connected to a cosmic signal right now, whether it's the form of DNA or light particle information signaling, interaction of information through the light particle of creation intelligence, super dynamic intelligence signaling on a quantum scale right now. Every one of us is receiving this quantum scale information, including everything, all of life on Earth, without exception. Not only human, plant life, animal, ocean, everything is receiving these gamma waves of light particle, DNA, dark matter, cosmic light particle fields. It is radiation light in the full gamma spectrum. I'm showing these. If you I can't. You can see the videos. Just look out for alien light. I do have spaces every night at 8 o'clock. We can go into it in real detail. It is quantum physics. This is really submonatomic particle or scalar wave evidence. It's not just talking. Even scientists, and well, I'm shouting out any scientists, but they won't come to talk to me.
Well, I will.
Well,
Is this
let's
anyone?
pretend all that's
I,
behind us. Let's just stick to right here.
Yeah, and
well, I mean, I'm just the discovery is very serious. It's very now. I'm trying to reach the world to let them know we're not alone. We are receiving cosmic signals in the form of gamma light signaling. Right now, I'm posting what the signals of light look like
Uh,
right now.
Pretend
So,
somebody right here that you're talking to has tentacles out to the rest of the world.
excuse me.
no, it's okay. Alien, I will say that you definitely explained it much more subtle, and I really enjoyed it the way that you kind of explain the interaction with this camera.
Well, I just want to ask anybody, because this is what physicists and DNA
Yeah.
specialists and anyone that is familiar with really signaling what the question is. So, and atheists and people that don't believe in spiritual science. So it's either one or the other. Either you're all alone, we're all alone. Each individual is all alone and was created by
Hold
by
on,
by by
alien life,
evolution, or
alien
we
life.
are connected to an
Do you,
intelligent, we are descendants of an intelligent, super intelligent race of aliens. And
excuse
this
me.
is what
Wait, alien life. Do you are see? Let's see. What is your science background first?
If we
Are
could
you working in a
just
lab?
maybe we could go back to because I know we changed the subject. If we could go back to what we were speaking about, but I just want to say, Alien, you post the information you can, man. And if I had to give any advice, I
yeah,
would say try your best to, and this is the way you would be able to attract people. Keep it short, keep it 3 minutes, right? Say I'm gonna post this information, and then after that, it's like be detached from the situation, because being over attached is typically why I would think that maybe people kind of get scared away from the information, because it's very hard for anyone else to speak in the space, and the subject of at least what we were speaking about is completely kind of turned.
I respectfully just want to leave, and I'll just say this, right? That humans right now are so addicted to storytelling that when someone tells us of a conscious discovery right now that is happening, they're lost. They run into the woods. Because you have been programmed with so much history of storytelling and programmed not to know of anything in the
But
future, that you just
alien,
can't you just can't
alien,
you can't accept what I'm
alien.
trying to say, and I'm
You
sorry
come into
about
this
that.
space. You come
No,
into this space
I'm trying to
every
speak of
week, and
consciousness,
we try to listen to you and your
because
story. But
I'm making
it's the same
I'm sorry,
story.
if I'm
No,
making
no,
no
I'm just.
progress, that's I understand it. There's no consciousness no more. I'm speaking of a conscious particle, quantum physics light particle right now, and it's it's just
No,
the story world is so profound that I know it's a waste of time. And I come into these spaces, and every time it's
To
just a waste of time. I'll
let
leave.
others
Anyone who wants to
talk.
see my images, you're welcome to see them.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Are you rigid in your ways?
A little rigid. Yes, I would say so. Like a river with rock. But like all things, the river flows. Sorry, Thumper. Go ahead, man. And you unmuted, and then War. Welcome to the
I was
stage.
just gonna say, let Shell talk, and maybe he would we would be more perceptive.
He's done this many times, and I give him the opportunity to
As
come up. He's refined the skill slightly. I will admit I enjoyed the way he expressed the intent of what he was trying to describe. It's just like say it and then like let's move on, not because you stick around it and you kind of just keep swarming around it, and everybody's like, ugh.
I'll be a bulldozer.
Yeah, exactly. But Warmth Man, welcome to the space. You got your hand up. Thank you for coming. And then Textile, if you would like to speak.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, well, really, I wanted to ask Alien Light something, but like he believes that there's DNA inside light. I mean, because I've heard him say that a few times, and I followed him, and I just like wanted to just ask him what he believes. That's it. Like, I'm not even saying,
He's not here anymore.
yeah, I know, so shit. I read a couple cool books recently. I read uh Life on the Edge that it was written quite a while ago, or I think about 10 years ago, maybe 2009. But it's about how quantum quantum physics are play a large role in the origins of life, and why and what differentiates the living from the non-living. It's a cool book. Have you read it, Ranger? Or anybody else read that book?
Not off the
I have not, but I will say that life plays a role in the quantum.
Yeah,
Yeah, he talks about that too, and I thought I really probably should have planned, what I was going to say about it a little better, but he's talking, a lot of it is about how I think it's the Schrodinger experiment, like when you observe it, it changes. And so like um
Everything that is everything can be measured one way or another. And to discount anything you've experienced or you've heard from someone that you will give credibility to is a disservice. All of it is here and there.
and Warren,
See you on that.
theoretically, Brett, I agree with him. I mean, I don't believe him to be wrong when he says DNA is light, and that for the being the reason that light is everything. Energy being the formation of all matter that exists, and light being a formation of energy. I mean, it's not wrong. And he speaks about, because I've asked those questions before, Warmth, right? But he never really gives a direct answer. But he speaks about the gamma rays and the interaction between these gamma rays that are hitting the Earth and the magnetic field from an advanced species that has created our DNA, and we are that of that species. And it's not far off. I mean, I agree with the concepts, and I like him. I just wish he wouldn't be the bulldozer, as I think Theta put it before.
yeah. Um I know I just want to talk to him, but whenever he runs his spaces, it's like never seems to be a time where I can listen, but I can't talk. I'm just not in a situation where I can talk. But another book, and I recommend this is this book called Blindside, and it has a lot to do with consciousness, but it's just science fiction, but it really
You can
is.
talk whenever you want to talk. You just gotta have the backbone to do so.
Are you talking to me that I need to have the backbone?
Anybody who wants to
Yeah.
talk in that space.
No, I mean, whenever he's on, like, I'm at work or I'm working or
Well, you
doing
can't be
something with
working.
my
You got to be
family.
focused.
I
Okay,
love
man.
I love you,
I
man.
mean, I have a job, man. But I can listen, but I
I'm
can't
just
talk.
saying, there's some people who are there who are not working, and there's you who is working, and you're distracted a little bit. Okay, that's fine.
Theta, I love you, man. But if you could please, maybe raise your hand, or at least not interrupt when people are speaking, so they could get their full thought out.
I'm not sure if I'm taking it wrong, but it felt a little hostile. I mean, it's just like I'm not always free to talk on the phone. Sometimes I can listen, and sometimes I can't, and sometimes I can only listen. That's just a fact of how my life is organized. I don't, so that's that. But anyway, and geez, anyway, in this book, it it talks a lot about consciousness, and I don't know. It seems like whenever I want to talk with you, Death Ranger, I end up talking about consciousness in one form or another. But I recommend like looking for this book. It's a science fiction book, but it was really mind bending, and I even don't want to throw out spoilers on it, but like I have been very interested in the nature of consciousness for a long time, and this book threw a lot of wrenches in my thinking about it. It was really mind
You,
bending.
you,
And
you know what popped in my head, Warmth? If I had to ask you anything, man, it would be to listen to the space that we had yesterday. We talked a lot about these quantum states and electrons and these thoughts of the synaptics and the neurons in our brain, and right, consciousness, this big question. And it was really an incredible space yesterday where we went into qubits and qubits and being able to store this kind of like quantum states of this information that exists in our brain. I would really love to hear your opinion on the conversation and thoughts on it.
What's this book called again?
it's just called Blindside.
Mm,
I forget the author's name, but he's also the dude who wrote the short story The Things, which is an extrapolation from the movie The Thing, but from the perspective of the monster. And that's a great short story, and you can find that for free online. And uh, and another thing about alien light that I think is interesting is that in with Arthur C. Clarke in the 2001, 2010, and 2000 so on series, the most advanced alien race had transformed their data into light. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but that's in he goes into that in 2010. And I know again it's just fiction, but
Oh, it's not.
like Arthur, yeah, but like Arthur C. Clarke, like his vision of
Hold on, hold on. Transform it into what?
Into
light,
light, data into light. This is quantum
yeah,
computation.
Oh, into light. Okay, okay.
yeah. So I mean, I just think that it's an interesting point because I respect the literature of Arthur C. Clarke so much and consider it very realistic, really possible, you know, and so it just I, it was just something that I wanted to mention it, even though it was fiction, it's fiction, but in his book, the highest alien form just put their data into light, and they were existing as light. Uh, it's just in his book, but that's that.
Yeah. Well,
All right, that's the stuff I kind of wanted to say, I guess.
thank you for that, Warm Heights. I appreciate that. That was good. We need to hear all of that, everything through. Um. Well,
Let's see if we can get back to the subject matter.
I'll just be quiet for a second.
Oh, all right. Textile though, you came to the space, man. I don't know if you heard anything we were speaking about before, but if you would like to speak on anything, please feel free to jump in. And if not, I think I might bother you for a moment, Dazzling. All right, Dazzling, do you know where we were beforehand there? Because I think it was the subject matter that you were speaking on right before Alien came in.
I think he threw my light particles off course. They are traveling in another direction now.
Well, so I'll go to touch on then this thought of how Warmth was speaking about this quantum computer, this ability to distribute light as information. And so one of the examples I gave earlier, and I used yesterday also, is to think of this computational unit that could sit so large that could sit inside of a city that is so large, the size of a building, that has a structure of photons, light itself beaming up from this computational unit, and through this, it is interacting with all of the different states of electrons that we could have in, say, photonic state chips and computational systems, right? Your computers, your tablets, maybe it be a device on Titan and a device on Mars, and be able to distribute the information theoretically faster than light itself could move. If we're able to calculate the entanglement between these states of electrons that exist, we theoretically could transfer information instantaneously. And so Warmth, this kind of structure that you mentioned, though, right, being able to transfer the very being itself and everything that consists into energy, this like is a reference to maybe like a level 5 species, where a species is so inept in being able to control the states of matter itself that it becomes the universe, and the universe is it. And I think this comes to this notion of the future being our past, and the hyperbolic notion of time being a multi-dimensional aspect, where we are experiencing this particular moment based on the bounded observerness, but all states of existence are theoretically existing on top of each other simultaneously.
Do you think we're there? Are we ready for that?
Well, we're never ready for it.
Well, are we there anyway?
I don't think that we're there to the point where I would say level 5 species control the energy of the universe and be one with the universe. But I think we're close to becoming a level 1.5 species, possibly in the next like 100 years. Huge jump to go past the ability to control all of the energy on the Earth and then our sun, and be able to build something like a Dyson's ring around our Earth, and possibly, have tens of billions
A Dyson ring, really?
I
yeah,
mean,
and then
that would be
and
harnessing the energy of the earth in the most potential way possible. I mean,
Nah,
that's how
we're
you
yeah, we're
graduate
far
to
from
that
that.
civilization stage, is what Death is saying.
yeah, exactly. And we are far from that. But the interesting thing, as far as perspective of a notion of time, and that is relative to your existence. If we have life extension in the next 20 to 30 years, and past that 50 to 60 years have permanent life existence, the question becomes a lot less, okay, when, will we have this? It's okay, when will we have this? And I'm going to be part of this, right? Because I have this notion of not ceasing to exist. The only thing that'll cease us to exist is some sort of extermination or error in the species. And so we must be calculated, because if we are calculated, we have a higher probability chance of being able to.
No, it's not some error in this species.
Well, I would say, if we were to say die today because an asteroid hits the Earth, I would say that's an error in the species. We weren't prepared. We didn't have the knowledge to prepare in a problematic way where we'd be able to have survival.
Yeah, a mass extinction event would definitely throw us off course, something of that nature.
It's an error
Exactly.
in it. It's an
Well, the
error
error
in
would be is that
existence.
we're not watching for it, being able to divert from
Okay, so
something
let's
like that.
back up. Let's back up. Okay. So, with the coming forward of the next level in this industrial revolution with AI, AR, whatever, what is the one thing holding any civilization together?
Together would be trust. But I would say, though, you kind of brought me to this point, and it's kind of like a perfect ending point. And after this, I'll go around the room and see if anybody has any last words. But you mentioned it earlier, Theta, right? This inflection point, or this horizon that we are coming upon. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, right, 2027 to 2032, we will see such an explosion, a Cambrian explosion in technology being developed with these tools, these paired tools of a quantum computer, a quantum qubit computer, right, this ability to store quantum states and have these states proven to be stored, say, months from now, years from now, because this is a huge issue with quantum computers as we have them today. Qubits are great at going from one state to the next in an extreme speed, but being able to predominantly record that state and store it somewhere, not so easy today. That paired with like smart tooling sets, robotics, automation, the means of human innovation and inventions, I think we're going to see such an astronomical rate of things that we would have never thought
Hmm.
to exist in the next 15 years.
I hear you, Dev. I hear you, Death Ranger. Here's the thing, though. The rest of the world is not thinking about the people who are coming into the technological world, who are on the sharpest end of technology and knowledge and knowing what's coming out and what's available, right? The rest of the world's not thinking about that. The rest of the world's thinking about this young person who has no experience living through the hardships of the world. I don't trust him. I don't trust her. That's what's going on.
I don't disagree with you. I think the incentive behind the way that we sociologically interact with each other today is on the means of a very disformatted and malicious means of communication, right? Survival, as it's not easy for any of us to survive, and especially just like you brought it apart, up, right? It's in many parts of the world, survival is on the tops of everybody's mind. I think, and going to historical context, right? We could use that as
It's like a company, Death.
it is. It could
It's
be
like
like
a
a company.
company.
Well, you could
If
think,
you're going to project the future of the world to the people who want to
well,
or who should invest into it, you got to put it forward.
yeah, and
You got to
his,
sell it to the old people.
historically speaking, well, you're very much so right that the elderly are at least the majority as of today. But historically speaking, it's very average that it's around 15 to 25% of the population that actually is the hands that do the doing that makes the changes of the sociological means behind society. And so we today, if choose to go in the right pathway and direction, could create a sustainable future for all of the other 80 to 85% out of those means of at least the innovators, right? The ones who are doing the changes. And if we could create this loving and empathetic world where food and shelter, sustainability, right? I mean, the simplistic things of needs of survival is taken care of for everyone. We open up this horizon where everyone has the accessibility to at least innovate. And I think that creates such an
Mm,
explosion.
you got to keep in mind the people who are taking care of their parents and their grandparents and their opinions.
I think
It's not
it's
it's not cut and blank.
Well, no, it's subjective when you talk about the differences in scenarios that people may want. But if you ask people in the end of the day, the basic necessities of what they want, everyone wants things. Love, shelter, happiness, safety, right? I mean, it's very basic from that standpoint. And if we can at least everybody deserves those accessibilities, I think then what you do with that is truly up to you. But I think what we will see is that a lot of people will have so much time on their hands, the innovations will just explode, and the accessibility to the means of the information to grant access to the innovations, it will be there.
Theta, actually, you kind of came late to this space. We were talking about the asteroid mining and like all the potential stuff that's going to bring wealth to our hopefully civilization. It's not just going to be all doom and gloom. And I don't know. I if you want, like, we come to these spaces like 3 days a week, and there's like a lot of cool talk that he has in regards to all these innovations coming our way, including our health. Like the health aspect is pretty cool.
It shouldn't be all doom and gloom. I hope it wasn't like too hard there.
It was a little doom and gloom, but it's okay. It's okay because you know what? Polarity is very beneficial when talking about any possible future scenarios and existing scenarios today and the outcomes of these different intents behind the scenarios. So I thank you, Theta, and I'm glad you're in the space. I'm happy you're here.
You balance me out, Theta, because I'm the forever optimist on this
There
stuff.
you go. And look at all the hands that we got up all the time. It's like everybody just shot the hand up right at the same time. I think it was Thumper though, KJ, and then we'll go Dazzling.
It's KJ, then me.
Oh, very kind. Thank you, Thumper.
Cool. I like your perspective, Death, on like positive possibilities. But then I think like, okay, if you look at a truly compassionate, caring, higher thought civilization, like they would quickly put resources towards hunger. I guess like I'll cut to the chase. Like all of the promises of technology so far have supposedly been about giving us more free time and whatnot. And one could argue that technology so far has really caused a lot of like mental instability with youth and social media and disconnected people interactions at restaurants. Like if you used to go on a date, not everyone would be on their phone, right? There was human interaction. So this idea that automation and this wealth of like human capital could be somehow just like conquered, well, the powers that be or whoever's been steering this ship certainly doesn't want to give us a bunch of free time back. So I guess I'm curious, like it could go that one. Like if the people in this room had the ability to automate and say, hey guys, like go create, go be human beings, love this experience to the fullest. But that just hasn't been. So I guess I'm curious, like, do you think there'll be a shift in this kind of like great awakening that we're going through that would put those freedom powers in the hands of the meek or the people that want the best for humanity?
I do, and it falls in lines with non nobis solum, right? It's for the greater of humanity, and so I agree with a lot of sociological structural means of the phone and these interactions of scenarios. They are somewhat detrimental to what you could think of as the sociological means of good I shouldn't say the word good, sir. Of communication between two parties. um, I think it's just this kind of mid stage though that we're kind of in, and it's almost like, if you ever think of like water from when it's a liquid to a solid. It's like, well, when did those actual states, when did those exact molecules change from a liquid to a solid? And so it's like, I think we're in this expression of intent where our species is like literally between the molecular stage of changing from the liquid to the solid, right? Or maybe, you can think of it as like a liquid to a gas, maybe, in this sense. And it's like, well, we're kind of like in this like weird inflection point where people are like, what's going on? This makes sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, what do we do with this? And that's why I kind of
So
say
we're in
20.
like technology puberty.
It really is, right? Like, you think of like, are these smart tooling sets and DLT? It's like the dawn of the internet again, right? It's this new thing that we all are interconnected with each other. We can do all of these different things now, and it's like, well, what do we do with this? And so it's like, that's really why I say like 2027 to 2032, because I think it's like finally, like when we get the big boy pants on and we're like, look at all of these things we've established, all of these means of actionable logic states from one application to the next. It's like we can do things with this. And so I think that's like what leads to that explosion of innovation. But you're right, the incentive, KJ, behind the interactions that we have. This also goes to like how we had the post monetary chat, right? Because I really do think we push towards that Star Trek kind of civilization where if everybody's surviving, right, and you could call it UBI, you can call it whatever means of societal monetary value exchange exist, but the at least initial things to survive, your food, your shelter, your water, your electricity, basic necessity, electrical devices, whatever the basic things are in life for our society, should be applicable and accessible to everyone, regardless of your standing. Yeah, just to exist. Just to exist.
Well,
Exactly.
it's interesting, like what you just said, that vision again, that hopeful vision of that Star Trek transition. They didn't just have good tech; they had like evolved consciousness matching that tech capability in the responsible, best for humanity way. So, like all the needs were met in Star Trek. Like you never saw anybody, like, oh, I can't afford drinks this week. Like I didn't make enough money.
Exactly. And if you could almost think of it maybe as like a heightened state of awareness also. And technology allows for that. But to the hands, I'm so sorry, guys. Sunbird has a wing and warm.
Oh shoot! I almost forgot what I was going to say. Shoot, I did. No, it's about the Renaissance. I mean, why did we have the Renaissance? Is because we figured out how to purify water or get it at least cleaner, and we
Come
stopped
on.
drinking beers. So, I mean, we need innovation first, and then will come more innovation, I guess.
Yep, it's a flywheel effect. I completely agree, and was a interesting example, though. I enjoyed it. Dazzling, go ahead, man.
Um, I just got a closing thought because I do have to bail, but I know you're about to close up anyway. So, yeah, you said before about for the better of humanity, and I hear that term quite a lot. And then Shell, you said before about health effects as well, and it kind of makes me think about if we kind of do progress forward into an intergalactic civilization. Space is not a very human friendly environment. So it'll be interesting to see as we kind of move forward the changing of kind of terminology there, because if we really want to survive out there, we're probably not going to be as human, really, or as in human form as we are now. So we're going to have to redefine that idea of being human, I guess, as we get out there. But yeah, I've never really thought about the health effects of being in space for humans, although I have heard some things like there was that lady that I believe she's the astronaut, and I believe she's younger from having spent time out in space and stuff like that. So maybe that's something that would be really cool to talk about in another space. But I will drop down. I'll listen while I'm on my way to work. But
Whoa, whoa,
thank you
whoa,
again
whoa,
for
whoa,
some
whoa,
space,
whoa,
man.
whoa! Don't drop down.
Unfortunately, I have to, man. I'm sorry, but I'll be listening. Sorry for any replies.
No, thank you for coming, Dazzling. I'm gonna close up after Warmth and Shellfish. But go ahead, Warmth, man. Thank you for raising your hand, and then Shellfish.
Appreciate it. So, I mean, I put some books up in the Jumbotron. The one I put the books I was talking about already up, but in another book I put up there, it's called Demand the Future, and it's talking about automation. And I think it's really a great book to read because so many times now recently that the automation has been, there's this horrible fear about like, oh my God, I'll lose my job. I'm going to be broke. And, so it has to come with a certain type of political ideology to accompany it. And I totally um, uh, you know, think that um, doomer visions have to be discussed as well because we can fuck it up. And so and you think about just that Kim Stanley Robinson. I just keep talking about books, but Ministry for the Future. But it's talking about, and there's more people have been contemplating is how many people are going to live and the responsibility that we have to them. And when you think about how close we are, and I know this is what you primarily talk, or I've heard you talk a lot about Death Ranger, and I really agree with you. To me, a lot of it sounds like, we're putting quantum computing together with AI, and that it can birth uh, like a triple renaissance. There's so much potential there. And to understand that how much potential there is for humankind to do incredible things is all the more reason to put the brakes on a lot of things that are going on in the world right now because there's a gigantic incentive. And I get, the argument that it seems like every bit of new technology is also two steps back. I believe there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth to what the Unabomber says in the Unabomber Manifesto. I think, and back to primitive thinking is, it doesn't mean I'm an advocate of what the Unabomber did. I'm just saying the Unabomber Manifesto is a wild and very intelligent read, no matter who wrote it. And I'm not saying he should have hurt anybody. I don't believe that at all. I'm just talking about the manifesto itself. But it's describing the way the technology hurts and really in a really convincing way. And I think it's just important to acknowledge that because we have to change. I mean, where we're at mentally now is on the track to destruction, but where we are technologically now and scientifically now is we're on the path to possibly a utopia. So it's just let's go the right way. So that's my little speech on it. Thanks,
No,
y'all.
I loved it, Warmth, and it's ironic, isn't it? I mean, it's such a double edged sword. And you look at the sociological means, and then the means behind the tooling intent that we have, and the possibilities with it. I love the polarity though that you showed. Thumper man, go ahead, and Shellfish, and we'll close up.
I mean, with technology, I mean, I'm kind of more versed in that. It's gonna get worse before it gets better for us because we don't know how to really implement it, especially AI. I mean, but hackers are using it to make better hacks, to make my job a pain in the ass. So, I mean, technology is great, but it will get worse before it gets better.
Thank you for your thoughts, Number. I agree also. I think it's almost like ripping the band-aid off, right? When you start peeling it off, it's like ow, 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 and then you rip it off and you're like, all right, that wasn't so bad. And so yeah, I do think it's almost like you also need that for the polarity of like the relief factor of the change from what occurred. I think some sort of
When you need yin and yang, you know.
exactly. That's another great example. Shellfish, please take us out.
Um, well, I think it might be something that maybe we can kind of lead into next time. I was just going to throw out there the fact that if we do have a Cambrian explosion in the biotech industry, and just human epigenetics, where that would go with us. I mean, you keep saying how everything is just a giant cycle. What does that look like if we go back to merging and having chimerian type of effects from um, other animals, other species? I mean, look at the Egyptians with the ibis and the different humans with uh, different animal heads or masks. What their DNA might be able to provide for us. I'm obsessed with tardigrades, and I don't know. I just thought maybe we could throw that out there and include that in next time.
Awesome. Well, that's we'll have it written down for our future space for sure. We'll do epigenetics and biological engineering and all of the different sorts of things that could possibly be done futuristically and today. But I love you guys. I think everybody who comes to this space. I mean, this space really it wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for the people who came and speak and or spoke, I should say, and come and listen. And once again, love you guys. I hope everybody has a great rest of the night. I am not 100% sure if I will be here Thursday, but if we are, Thursday, 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, worst comes to worst, I will see you guys Monday next week, 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week.
You too.